is the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
And remember this. When you are down and down in the dumps and think you have real problems, just remember, somewhere in this world, there is a Mr. Pelosi. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots, call me. Pledge of Allegiance time. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Wednesday edition, March 7th of Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Big spring tire sale going on right now, and along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Excuse me, just my throat this morning. You'll have to finish it for me.
Liberty and justice for all. Sir, I hope you get to feeling better. It sounds like you've got some of my old cold that's hanging on. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. You know, this time of the year, everybody's got some kind of a little cold, or they got a little bit of sore throat, or a combination of all of the above. My goodness sakes, I wish everybody well. It'll be spring soon, and then we can start suffering from all the allergies. Well, right now, let's go to the weather, and the weather brought to you by our friends at K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway. You couldn't miss it? No way. 678-3122. And Roger's very optimistic. He said, spring is coming! And they've got all the lawn and garden equipment you need for outdoor cleanup and all the work. Hey, stop over, give them a call. K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway in Hayburn, towards Hayburn, or going to Hayburn, and the number 678-3122. Right now, here's the weather.
We've got another beautiful day ahead of us here in the valley. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Looking at mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 43, winds out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 20 miles an hour. For tonight, clouds will be making their way into the valley, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 26 tomorrow. Partly sunny skies with a high of 48. Looks like we do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast for Thursday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low near 33. Friday, 30% chance of rain showers, mostly in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high of 50. Then by Saturday, back to sunny skies and 45. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, thank you very much, Gina. And brought to everybody this morning by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. There you go, Zeb, 678-3122. Really good folks at K&R Rental. Give us a call. I'd like to have you get involved this morning at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Before I get my first story on, I want to talk to you a little bit about Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Stay open till 5. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, that's not brag, that is a fact. And they've got such an efficient staff working for them, as they have for almost 60 years. Wow. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Okay, let's just get right to it. I realize that the students at Parkland High School in Parkland, Florida, and at Douglas High School, pardon me, I realize that they have been through a terrible, mind-altering, life-changing experience with what happened at their school with that absolute heinous shooting. But 15, 16, and 17-year-olds are not policy experts and not, I don't think, in any way, shape, or form should be telling us what to do with the fact of gun control really becoming a large issue, and them telling legal gun owners and taxpayers and parents and protectors of our own homes what they want or not with the Second Amendment. Now think about this. Don't get upset at me and just say, well, they went through a terrible experience. They have every right. Yes, they have every right to express themselves, but not the way they're doing it. I watched kind of a montage of some of the kids going up to a microphone at a rally, a protest rally. One girl at the microphone yelling BS on the NRA and the Second Amendment. And our President Trump had called some of the students down there not only to learn more about what their feelings were and what happened and offer condolences. And some of the students that were talking to him, they just said, it's just President Trump, nobody likes him. And they hung up on the President of the United States. This is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The attitude and the persona that they're projecting, it's sickening. And then you have so-called adults like Rosie O'Donnell. This is one of the most obnoxious, obese women I've ever heard, with a terrible mouth. And she came out yesterday and she compared the NRA and all of its members, of which I am, were all terrorists, according to Rosie O'Donnell. This has got to stop. We're seeing a division and a divide created here in America by the liberals versus the conservative, God-fearing people that want to protect their homes. I haven't done anything. You haven't done anything, but we're being lumped into a category of being terrorists. I find that so maddening. I only wish I had a chance to give a live rebuttal face-to-face to Rosie O'Donnell. Caller, I'm going to ask you. I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, I mean, Thomas and his staff at both locations are excellent people, friendly people, serving people, and serving you the best doggone food you ever had, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, anytime, all the time, at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we're going to be over there for Lunch Bunch on the 22nd. Oh, it's good. Oh, the food is tremendous. You got to stop in and check it out today. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland and Burley. America's Diner and the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Also, real quick, I want to remind you about Pomerelle Place. I really, really enjoy talking about these folks because I'll tell you, for seniors that are living alone and the scares and the worries about loneliness and the safety hazards and not eating properly and not taking your medicine, listen. Pomerell Place offers senior living and the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. Call them for information today at 677-8212. 677-8212. Pomerell Place, 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. Caller, thank you very much. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just want to comment. Those kids in that Florida shooting, it was a terrible tragedy. But I'll tell you what, they're being manipulated by the liberal anti-gun people. They're being enticed by fame, and they're being given handwritten statements as to what to say. I don't believe that's those kids really. That's just nothing but manipulation by liberals.
Sir, I could not agree with you more. I'm glad you used the word manipulation. It's like they have I wished he wouldn't have hung up. Oh, caller, stay with us a little longer. I appreciate that call. He's right. These kids are being manipulated, whether it's by their parents, whether it's by older folks, maybe kids a little older than they are. The manipulation is there. The puppet strings are being pulled, and they're saying just what the left wants them to say. Now, this is a horrendous deal. I am not minimizing, and I don't want anybody out there in la-la land that is going to say, well, Zeb Bell this, and then they'll put it on some crazy crackpot website that I said this against the kids. I'm not saying anything against the kids, any of these kids that went through this horrendous experience. But I am saying, like the gentleman that just called, the manipulation of getting these kids to take the side of the liberalized gun control movement in this country, it's there. It's right up front. And these kids are doing it, yelling and screaming into the microphone, saying the NRA BS and the Second Amendment BS. And other students just absolutely being so rude. Where are the parents in this thing? If my kid was being called by the President of the United States to not only give condolences and sympathies, but also to ask questions and find out more from their perspective, and then your kid or my kid would hang up on the President of the United States and then denigrate him and go to a low standard of some of the verbiage that I heard yesterday, that kid needs to be taken out behind the woodshed. I don't care if you like that or not. We've lost respect, and rudeness prevails in this country. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on. That first man that called broke the ice. Everybody jump in. Here we go. Dino Septic Service over in Rupert. Fast, fair, friendly service. That sums it up. They are good. They are fair, and they're very friendly when they're on your property doing the job for you that you don't want to do. Septic tanks pumped, and septic tanks and drain fields installed, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, liquid waste removal, and they got that big truck called Smells Cargo on the way. You give them a call today at 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638, and they are, of course, Dino Septic Service in Rupert. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And now, in addition to all these problems, I understand from a report that I heard this morning that there is a concentrated effort to try to get doctors, your personal physicians, your personal doctors, while you're in the waiting room, they are being pushed in many, many areas to ask patients if they own guns, what kind of guns do they own, and then some of these doctors, and some of the reports are shaming gun ownership and basically condemning them for being a gun owner. This is very serious, very serious. Listen, if they or anyone tries to pry into your personal affairs, your private life, and denigrate and condemn you as a gun owner, or try to find out what you have as any weapons in your home, Tell them nothing. Tell them absolutely nothing, especially doctors. I have a fear, and I want somebody to call me and tell me it's maybe founded or unfounded. But I have a fear that if they get the medical profession behind a major gun control effort in this country, that, especially for seniors, of course I am one, but I have a fear that if they get doctors behind the gun control issue and asking questions and making reports about who has guns, the Social Security Administration may be on the hook with a slam dunk with the gun control advocates in this country to withhold, potentially, Social Security payments until we, the elderly, give up our guns. Or there may be an automatic confiscation. How would you like to get a knock on your door and you're 70 years old, 72, 66, whatever the case might be? Hi, Mr. Smith, we're from the government. You're too old to have a gun. We're here to come and get on your property, confiscate your guns. Your doctor told us you have them. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
That's wrong on so many levels.
I'm wrong or the situation is wrong?
The situation is wrong. The doctors wanting to do that, and and what it's going to lead to. And are you familiar with H.R. Bill 5087, the assault weapons ban of 2018?
Yes, not to the point where I can cite it chapter and verse, but yes, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Everybody out there needs to look it up. It's
okay.
Scary.
Well, tell me one thing that's going on today that isn't. You're not going to tell me, and I'm not talking to you, Doug, personally, but I mean, nobody is going to tell me that these kids, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, are standing up at podiums with that kind of verbiage that they're making up for themselves in a condemnation and a damning of President Trump, this administration, the NRA, and those of us that are God-fearing gun owners. It ain't happening without manipulation, Doug.
Exactly. Let's take a little history lesson of about 30 days ago when Congress was contacting Tide to change the colors of their Tide Pods so it did not look so appetizing.
Yes.
So teenagers wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
Now they're experts on gun violence.
Again, I got to say this, and I think you'll understand, and I think you'll agree with me. What they went through was absolutely a horror show, only it was real. I have nothing but complete sympathy for these kids in trying to go back to school, trying to get an education in a location to where they saw some of their friends die. I understand that. But it was a criminal. It was a man that absolutely had to be out of his mind, because you don't do something like this if you're sane. It was a person that obtained the weapons and used the weapons in a very horrific way to hurt, maim, and kill people. And then they equate me as a gun owner, you as a gun owner, as terrorists. I'm really upset about that.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And let's figure out what broke down to cause this problem in Florida. The sheriff, for one.
The FBI, too.
The FBI, for another one, for not following up on all of the calls and all of the leads. And President Obama and Eric Holder's to blame also for their Promise program.
And the medical profession, because there were people in the medical profession, whether psychiatry or medical, they knew of this kid.
Exactly. The teachers knew of it. The students knew of it. I heard one of the students talking to on news the other day, just after it happened, and he said when it first started going off, they said it's a shooting. The first words out of his mouth was this kid's name.
Yeah. I just do not understand, like Rosie O'Donnell. Now, If you or I, it's primarily me because I'm in the media and people listen to me all over the United States and especially back in Washington, D.C., my name is known. But if I were to say something about Obama's administration, if I were to say something when they were in office about Eric Holder being the crook that he was, if I were to say something like that, I mean, there would be a purge on the air to get me off the air. And yet Rosie O'Donnell, a so-called entertainer, and I use so-called in great big capital letters, with a filthy mouth, came out yesterday and called the NRA and its members terrorists, and it just seems to go unnoticed and nobody cares. Doug, the double-edged sword here is not sharp on one side.
Exactly. That's exactly it. They got their ideas, and if you don't agree with them, you're an ism of some sort.
Yeah.
And if you have a different idea, they don't want to hear it. So they want to shut down your free speech, but they say they're for free speech.
You know, there is so much going on in our schools and with our young people today. And I don't know if you read the Times News this morning in the op-ed page.
No, I haven't.
I urge you to read the paper because Robert Moore of Declo, Bob Moore, had one of the most outstanding letters I've read in a long time, and it's titled, "Old Does Not Mean Antiquated," and I absolutely applaud him. I do not know if he's listening. I hope he is. I hope somebody tells him over in Declo that I mentioned him, but his letter absolutely hits the nail on the head, and if I may, I'm going to paraphrase the last part of his letter. The real fix needed here is for our schools to actually provide sex education in a manner that respects the intent of our antiquated laws. Let's not forget, and he had antiquated in quotation marks, let's not forget our Creator, the moral lawgiver in this equation. When we give our children sex education that focuses on the anatomical and physiological but ignores spiritual and moral truths, we can expect dysfunction. And we can't be surprised when it produces the type of societal problems we're facing today. In other words, I think it's high time, past time, to put God, family, and values back in our life. And that letter also equates to the problem with these students in Florida.
Exactly. And Robert Moore is a very smart man. I've known him for years and years. And he's also very Christian and very talented. And he uses his talent for good.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I respect anything he has to say. I would feel that he has researched it and he has done his homework before he says it.
I agree. And I'll tell you what I see coming, and then I've got to do a break, Doug, but I see this coming around the curve, and I absolutely am not trying to make light of this situation. In the next 90 days, I honestly think we're going to see a train come around the curve, and that train is gun control and the making of evil against anybody that wants to protect their family, anybody that is a gun owner, anybody that is a member of the NRA, anybody that absolutely believes in the Second Amendment. I think there is a war going on right now where really the teapot is only starting to steam. It hasn't started to whistle.
Exactly, and that's why I encourage everybody to look up this H.R. 5087 and read it, and then let's contact our legislators and tell them how we feel about it.
I agree. Doug, thank you for your call.
Oh, one quick thing. I did see this morning a Democrat on TV from Montana, and he said he's for the Second Amendment. He says, I have more guns than I need, but not as many as I want. That come out of a Democrat.
Yeah, I realize I heard that same comment, but then again, location. That man would have been absolutely committing political suicide if he would have said anything else.
Exactly. So, but anyway, everybody, let's do what we can for our seniors. God bless.
All right, Doug. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are your thoughts on what we've discussed so far? I mean, there is absolutely no way Honestly, parents, I'd like to hear. If we have any parents out there that have, let's say, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that are in high school right now, honestly, call me and tell me that your child, your son, your daughter would stand up at a national news conference during a protest rally and use the verbiage that they did yesterday, denigrating not only this president, but this administration and any and all gun owners in this country. Really? Don't forget our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Hello, Nick Greenwell and the rest of the staff. Oh, these people are good. All their physical therapists, they know all the exercises, and they know what's going to apply to you and your problem areas and help you get back to being you. They also have that great hydrotherapy pool. Oh, man, I tell you what, that was the greatest thing for me. I hated while I was doing it, walking all those miles, and my legs were killing me and everything, but oh, did it help? Did it help? Yes, it did. They know what they're doing, and they can help you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call, 678-1191. Don't forget, on Mondays, we give away a dozen cookies. To Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Don't forget, not only do they have a delicious restaurant, but a phenomenal bakery, and they make wedding cakes and pies and desserts and cookies. Oh, the list goes on. Oh, I tell you, it's good. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. I'd really appreciate a couple of calls, so give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If I may, and you can feel free to call in on that first story, but there's another story that bothers me a little bit this morning, and we've had, over I'd say the last 5 or 6 years, I've had a story similar to this, and we've discussed it. And I'm not going to back down on my attitude on this. The superintendent. We have a call. We'll take that call quickly. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you. How about you?
I'm peachy.
Oh, good. About these teenagers, they do have a right to express their opinions and their fears. But I can tell you, I don't have children in school, but I have grandchildren in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you from experience that if any of mine ever talked to any adult, whether it's the President of the United States or the Pope, they'd be getting a what for in a bag of chips just with the blink of an eye.
Let me ask you about that.
Uncalled for.
Let me ask you about that. I consider you to be a very dear friend. Deanna and I've known you and your wonderful husband that's probably still sleeping for years and years and years. But where is the parental guidance here? I mean, if one of my kids would have ever, and they never did, if they would have ever acted in that kind of an absolutely terrible and very impotent fashion in hanging up the phone on the President of the United States or using that kind of language at the podium, that would not happen in my home.
No, not even. I don't think any of my children would have ever thought of speaking to, especially the president, but any adult in that tone of voice or hang up on them as they're trying to console them.
Oh, my goodness.
No. Parental exercise nowadays is almost, I'm not going to say total, but almost non-existent. They're so busy, the parents are so busy with their own agenda, they forgot that God gave them those children as a gift to teach them and to install in them the basic values of respect and life. It's almost non-existent.
Donna, and it says that so many times in the Bible. But, I remember I had a call, it was around before Christmas time, and we were talking about a similar story to this. And the caller called after the program. Naturally, the gutless always call after the program. And criticized me and said, well, what makes you such a great knowing parent? When's your book coming out? And I said, wait a minute. Let's talk about that for a second. First of all, I never said I was a great knowing parent. I just kind of flew by the seat of my pants, raising my kids. I did the best I could. I was gone a lot. Deanne did a lot of the parenting because I was on the road almost 3/4 of the time. But you know what? My kids grew up. I didn't have to go bail them out of jail. I didn't have to go get them for any drug offenses. And they both are now have wonderful families, and I've got 5 grandsons that are absolutely polite, and I'm very proud of them. I'm not the world's best parent, but you know something? I must have done something right.
Well, you know what? You're right. You're right. And number one, there is no rule book on being a parent.
Boy, I guess not, because I lost it if there was.
Well, I did too. You know, I still make mistakes every day, you know, but, you know, these kids nowadays are not taught to respect their elders. They're not taught to respect themselves, let alone try to respect anybody else.
I can't agree more, and quite frankly, I don't care who's offended by this, because parents have got to be parents. They can't be friends to their kids. This is the most stupid and asinine approach to parenting. Oh, I want to be my boy's friend. No, you want to be your your son's father. You want to act like it.
You betcha. You know, I can be your friend or I can be your worst enemy. That's what I used to tell my kids. You know, I was a single mother most of my life, raising my 5 children. And, you know, like I said, there's no rule book. I learned from experience, you know, that even my adult children, my grandchildren have total respect for their elders. And, you know, anyone who is a peer, you know, they help the underdogs. You know, so we must have done something right, you and I, you know, raising our families. And I'm really glad, you know, that I don't have to worry about that so much anymore.
Knowing you like I do, and knowing you like I have you and your husband for years, I promise you that if I had been one of your children, I would have served you breakfast in bed every morning.
Oh. Well, that would have been wonderful.
Okay.
On Mom's Day.
You scare me, Donna. You scare me. Thanks for your call. I got to run. Thank you.
You bet. You have a great day, my friend.
All right. Thank you much. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Hello, Juan. And at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls. Hello, Eli. And, of course, an office up in Nampa. Woo! I'm telling you what, they've got all the Bobcat and Doosan equipment. I mean to tell you, they've got a whole corral full of Bobcats, new and used excavators for sale or rent, all shapes and sizes. And don't forget equipment rentals, retail equipment sales, all there for you. Berry Equipment and Rental, Highway 30 in Burley, Addison Avenue West, Twin Falls, and in Nampa. Stop in and see them today. Berry Equipment and Rental. Well, good morning, caller. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. How are you?
Peachy, 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 as my neighbor always says.
Yes. You know, physicians are worried about their scope of practice and not doing something beyond their scope of practice for fear of being sued, etc. And I think that if they take this gun control situation and run with it, I think they're outside their scope of practice.
I think that's a really good way to say it, but here is what I think, and I really treasure your opinion, Linda. I've known you for a long time. But here's what I think people should do, even here in a very conservative part of the United States. I think people should go on the offense. And if they have a doctor's appointment and they're sitting in the office and the doctor comes in, well, how's your knee today? Well, pretty good. It's getting better. And then I think the patients should address the doctor and say, look, doctor, we have heard rumors that the medical profession may start asking questions about guns and gun ownership, and I want to tell you right now and look you in the eye, you'd better not ask me anything of that nature. I think we ought to go on the offense and put them back in where they really know where their place is.
Yes, I know what you're saying. It's different from being concerned about a patient that they know has mental health issues, maybe has been, they need to have a referral to a psychiatrist or whatever. Then I can see a concern there. But this is ridiculous.
You know, there is such a trespass, and I'll use that word, of your private information and your private life and mine and others, that if a doctor is I was at the doctor the other day. I had problems with a heel. I had my horse step on the back of my heel, and I didn't know if he tore my Achilles or what, but it really was sore. And so if he would have asked me anything about gun ownership, I guarantee you, and I make this promise, I would have stood up, looked him in the eye, and said, "That's it. I'll go to someone else. This is none of your business."
Yeah, this is wrong. This is sounding like Gestapo.
It is. And listen, on the 22nd, we're having lunch bunch, and I hope you will bring your beautiful voice and sing our national anthem.
I will.
All right.
All goes well, and I don't see anything going wrong.
Okay.
Also, they need to stop taking advantage of our kids. Shame on them for taking advantage of young people in a very vulnerable, emotional situation.
I agree. And taking advantage.
You're right, for the parents who have not taught them respect.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous to see our people acting this way.
Linda, God bless you. I always appreciate your call. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
On the 22nd.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to do a weather forecast, and then I want to talk to you about the Massachusetts school. The girls' basketball team at this particular high school had a game recently, and they won 93-7. Oh, some of the liberals out there are absolutely doing cartwheels across the snow-covered lawn in hatred of this. But there's a couple of facts you need to mull over before we start discussing this. Number one, the winning team only suited up 7 players. So, the liberals are saying, well, they kept some of their starting lineup in the game. Well, they would have to if they only suited up 7 players. And, number 2, the particular superintendent of this school came out and apologized for the team winning. Oh, my goodness, what's going on in this country? We'll talk about that in just a minute. Please give me a call. Want to remind you about your hearing. What did he say, Martha? I said, I want to talk to you about your hearing. And I want you to remember Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup and Dr. Courtney Mitchell, I bit my tongue. And they, of course, are doctors of audiology, and they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. The number to call, 312-0957. They can and they will help you with your hearing problems. And they can help diagnose one of the common causes of vertigo, too. Just please take my word for it. They know what they're doing. 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's the weather.
We've got another beautiful day ahead of us here in the valley. Here's your weather forecast for Zephyr Ranch. Looking at mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 43. Winds out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 20 miles an hour. For tonight, clouds will be making their way into the valley. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 26 tomorrow. Partly sunny skies with a high of 48. Looks like we do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast for Thursday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low near 33. Friday, 30% chance of rain showers, mostly in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high of 50. Then by Saturday, back to sunny skies and 45. That's your weather forecast for Zebeth Rain.
Thank you very much, and brought to you by, like I said, the very best Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital emergency room, I should say across from the emergency room, and the number to call for your appointment, 312-0957. Now, I want to get back to this game. As I mentioned, the final score was 93-7, and all heck broke loose, and people on the liberal bent were saying, oh, that's terrible, why they shouldn't have had that game go that far, they shouldn't have played the starters. Let's go back to the points that are made. There were only 7 people on the winning team that were suited up, so there you go. And then the other point I want to make on this is, are you going to cheat? Are you going to cheat? And you are cheating if you tell your kids not to play their best, not to take a shot, not to make good passes, or to possibly turn the ball over on purpose. That is cheating. That is cheating. At no time ever when you're playing a game or in life do I ever think that you should not give your best in all situations. It may sound harsh to some that are all these bleeding heart liberals that think everybody deserves a trophy or a ribbon, but if you're playing a game and the other team's playing a game, you're playing to win, they keep the score, play to win, and do your best. And if the other team gets beat 93-7, that is too bad. Maybe they might try harder the next time. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, I had quite a lesson when I was, in little school like Murtaugh in southeast Wyoming. Our high school team, I was probably a 7th grader. We probably had a junior high game. Anyway, they were, our team was 7-0 in the conference, and they were playing a team that was 0-7. They hadn't won a conference game. Anyway, they come out. Our team came out really fast and furious. They were way ahead. And I was sitting along there, and all of a sudden, this one kid said, should I hit this one, Coach?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, yeah, they were way ahead at that time. They got beat by 1 point. And, boy, that was a solemn group, because losing that game, for your letter sweater, you got a nice little basketball thing you hang on there. I got 4 of those when I was in high school because we won all our conference games. But that was a real lesson.
Well, let me jump.
The idea that you don't play, they give participation ribbons and trophies. And one thing I really miss now, we used to have sportsmanship trophies at the tournaments. And, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Let me jump in, Adrian. Let me jump in. Number one, I'm not saying you should be either an arrogant winner or a poor loser. I'm saying that when you play the game, you always play to do your best, and I've equated that whether it's your job, whether it's something you do in life to help others, or whether it's a game of basketball or whatever. You always do your best with the talent that God gave you, and you never, ever play down to loser standards. Do you understand what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, and that's the whole deal. Our whole society now is, the dumbing down of our education system with Common Core. There's a bill on the books right now to do away with Common Core, but it's sitting in the committee there in the Ways and Means Committee in Boise to do away with Common Core, but it's not going anywhere because Ways and Means Committee thinks we should keep,
Yeah,
And anyway, but what you're saying, and what you've been advocating is we do our best, and with the God-given talents that we have, and if you're going to participate, do something, do it to the best of your ability, and try to encourage others to do the same.
Absolutely. Adrian, I got another call waiting, but I really do appreciate your call on this. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, sir. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Taking my call. Hey, you know what? It's this whole snowflake mentality of everybody's got to be equally treated, and it's crap, because I'll tell you what, in the real world, in my business, things like that, I've been kicked down so many times, and if it wasn't for those lessons, I wouldn't have than, be able to be successful in other things that I do.
You know, what you said when you opened up your remark about the snowflake mentality, that's it. I just absolutely, if I was ever playing a game when I was in high school or college and somebody would come up to me, let's say a member of the coaching staff, and kind of with the side of his hand would say, hey, by the way, we got a great lead, throw that pass out of bounds, or maybe when you take a shot, kind of let it go off the rim or the backboard. That absolutely doesn't cut the cake with me. That is nothing more than cheating.
Well, you're right, because, I love the fact that they're always taking into consideration the people who are getting their butts kicked. But what about the lesson that's being taught to the people, who are winning? You're teaching them how to be gracious winners. You're teaching them how to be victorious. And if you take that away from them, you're doing double the harm.
Absolutely.
It's easier for people to skate out in life, and then you're not giving those people a chance to actually taste a little victory.
I could not agree with you more, and I'm so glad you called in. I was in a college game one time where it was 86-12. We were ahead, and we won. And there was even talk, I remember back, maybe we should pull some shots, or maybe we should just kind of take it easy on these guys. And the coach stood up and absolutely walked down the line, and he said, no. We always play our best. We always play our hardest. We always do our best, and at the end of the game, we shake hands, wish them good luck again in the future, but never play down to loser standards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want, you can put that into society today. Like, what if we were to tell our soldiers, hey, we're kicking their butt in the battlefield, but you know what? Just kind of skip a couple shots off, I mean, I just don't understand what it tells our kids. It tells our kids it's okay to be a loser, and not to try hard. And that's what drives me crazy.
Amen.
Just because you lost something doesn't mean you're not a loser. I mean, it doesn't mean you're a loser. It means, you just need to try and find a way to become a better participant or a winner.
Well stated, my friend, and thank you for your call. I appreciate that.
Hey, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. He's 100% spot on. I just can't imagine, and I hope it doesn't happen here. I mean, I would absolutely blast the coaching staff and or team that ever did that. You do not cheat. You do not make or ask student athletes or anyone in any capacity, a job or whatever, to cheat and do less. That's absolutely shameful. And just to try to give ground or make up ground to the other side or the other person because they are of lesser talent or lesser ability, no. You always give your best. Now, in this case, this team had only suited up 7 players. Now, keep that in mind, so that no matter what the substitutions were going to be, there were still going to be starters on the floor. Keep that in mind. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I've got a picture in my mind's eye of liberals that believe everybody's the same and nobody should win. They've got a hold of their steering wheels, and their knuckles are so white right now they just can't hardly wait to get out of the car. That's okay. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
This is a tribute to Clint Eastwood on a cell phone the other day. I don't know if he said it or not. It says, taking everyone else's guns because the criminals have too many is like castrating yourself because your neighbor's got too many kids.
Well, now that's a vivid account of what he may have said. Thank you for that analogy. Believe me, it's going to stick with me for a long time.
It has to be.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I got to think about that one for a minute. Caller, I'll be right there. I got to pay some bills. I'll be right with you. Oh, on this program, believe me, we have a wide range of comments, and I respect and appreciate that. Hey, spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, all 7 of them. And they've got all the tires for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs. Oh, my, like the Terramax HE, all-season traction, affordable pricing for your pickups and SUVs, and for your car on sale right now, the Ultra Z900, ultimate in tire technology with up to, depending on your driving, and tire size, up to an 85,000-mile warranty. 80,000-mile warranty, pardon me for making a misstatement. I don't want to get yelled at. And I'll tell you what, all 7 locations serving you with the best of these tires, and front-end alignments, and shocks and struts, and batteries. But you know something? Service is the number one thing. They really take care of you, and they're worried about your driving safety. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. That's not brag. That's a fact. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, quickly. I've only got about 45 seconds.
Well, when you join to be in the military, you must already have made up your mind that you want to protect our country. And without those wonderful people serving, and they take a lot of crap from everybody, where in the world would America be? I don't want them to lay down their arms and forget to go to work today.
Amen. Yeah, and like the caller said just a minute ago, at war, you don't realize that you're winning your side and then all of a sudden say, oh, gee, we better give them a break and let them catch up. That doesn't happen in real life.
Yeah. No way.
All right. God bless you, Chris. Thank you. We're going to take a little break for about 7 minutes and be back with more. Zeb at the Ranch, don't go away. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. A beautiful day outside in the neighborhood, and hopefully the weather's going to stay that way. We'll hear about that weather a little bit later on. Right now, Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale. Get on in there today. And along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to take care of a couple of our good words and then go to our guests. But right now, let's hear from Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
they're good, and they'll come and get your garbage weekly on that weekly route service. All you need to do is call them at 734-6969 and get scheduled, and they'll wave and say howdy. When they pick up your garbage, it's gone, it's out of there. And it won't be too much longer, and we're going to be looking at porta potties going out to the fields and various events outside. They've got it all. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. And don't forget, some friends that have been with us on this program almost since the very beginning, and I just absolutely have the highest respect and regard for them, and that's Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. And they absolutely are there to serve you in flexible hours, and it's not just 9 to 5. Believe me, they are there to serve you always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please write the number down and call 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Well, it's Wednesday already, and my good old buddy, wearing his red cap, I'm sure, is sitting in his office right now. Dave Bego in Indianapolis, Indiana. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Zeb?
Not too bad. What's the weather doing back in Indiana this morning?
Yeah, we got snow this morning, and it's cold, so I'm very happy.
Well, I can see. You sound a little testy, my friend. Hey, I want to start off on something this morning that I know you, as a former basketball player, can relate to, and I played a lot of it myself before my legs were totally gone. But there is a story out, and I'm going to give a quick synopsis, that a Massachusetts girls basketball team won over their other team 93-7, and now they are being absolutely absolutely ridiculed. The superintendent has apologized for the win, and they've turned winners into losers because of an attitude that they ran up the score. And my attitude is the winning team only suited up 7 players, so they had to play with what they had to play, and you don't teach kids to cheat by pulling shots or throwing bad passes. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm with you, Zeb, and, this is the typical left ideology. We can't have people being better and hurting other people and hurting their feelings and, all that kind of... Excuse me. And all that kind of stuff.
Well, wait a minute. I'll get you a bottle of water. Stand by. I'll be there in 6 hours.
Oh, Ma, I just got a drink of water. I can't believe it. Got a little tickle in the throat.
Okay. I hope. Yeah, I'm here. I'm waiting for you, buddy.
I'm fine.
Okay. No, you don't teach kids to play, and I used this terminology last hour. You never play down to loser standards. Would you agree with that?
Well, that's right. And, but the mentality in this country, everybody gets trophies and all that kind of stuff. What we need is people that need to go out and work hard and understand how to compete hard and play hard and do all that kind of stuff. And but at the end of the day, again, the far left, their whole goal is to get everybody just to sit back and listen to the utopia things that they throw out there for everybody and get everybody to be the same so they can control us. And America needs to wake up, and I think America is, because even California, I saw an article in California this morning that the people out there are tired of the liberals and the left's the utopia things that they're trying to do, and throw out and all that kind of stuff. And they see California coming down.
And really, I'll say this, and then I'll go to another story, but the real losers now in that story of that girls' basketball team are the winners because they have been they've been made to feel like they're absolutely monsters, that they should have thrown the game, that they should be apologetic for being good. And that's going to be a mental image that's going to be hard for them to overcome.
Yeah, it is. And, it's sad, but again, Zeb, I'm seeing more and more people and talking to more people every day that are waking up to this political correctness stuff that the left is throwing out there and all that, and it's kind of quite honestly, it's impressive to some of the people I've talked to. I even talked to a sheriff yesterday. And we spoke for about 40 minutes, and he went into this stuff, and he's tired of it. He's tired of seeing all this stuff, and, he's pushing people to wake up and that. So I think people are waking up. I hope so.
I do, too. Dave, in the last couple of days, we have seen a new item creep up on the anti-Trump wall, another little post-it on the wall that says Donald Trump is going to start everything into a trade war with the tariff increases and everything. My goodness, what's he trying to do? Destroy trade in America. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I've talked to a lot of different people, and I've even talked to some senators about it and that, and what they don't understand, and this is what I try to tell people, is most of the people that are in politics have not come from a business background, and they don't understand how to negotiate, and they don't know how to get the other side to turn their way. And Trump is doing that. I've seen his tactics. In fact, I've used some of his tactics, and he's just trying to get into the head of the other side so that they come to grips with what he wants. And that's what this is all about. And sometimes you got to throw out there something that's really tough and hard, so that the other side, it kind of gets to them, and they come back and say, well, yeah, we want to talk about this and work something out.
Well,
and that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and it's so refreshing to hear you as a businessman and business owner say this, because I guarantee you that with all the trade agreements that we've had, let's say in the last 35 to 40 years in this country, it seems like, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, that our country is always bowing and helping others embellish their part of the trade contract, but not really helping us.
Well, that's exactly right, and it goes beyond trade and things like that. And Trump is reducing regulations. He's reducing the money that we're giving to other countries and stuff like that. And everybody says, well, we need to help these countries, the poor and everything. Yeah, we need to help them, but we need to help them in a different way than what we're helping them. We got to help them improve their countries and their way of life, and getting people opportunities for jobs, and people standing up and working hard and moving things forward.
I agree. And let me just say this before we take the call. These people on the left that are yelling and screaming, oh, well, they are not having as much as we do, or we can't pay them as much as that because they can't afford to buy reciprocity with other goods. Why, we've got to have more equality. No, we don't need equality. There is no such thing as equality in the world. Some countries are better than others. Some countries put forth more of an effort. So there never will be equality unless it's a forced equality. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm with you on it. And, that's what the left wants to do, because if everybody's the same, you're easy to control.
Amen.
I keep coming back to the word control, because that's what it's all about.
Amen. Caller, good morning. Go ahead with your comment, please.
Good morning, Zeb. My comment is, with the trade tariffs for steel and aluminum coming up, do people not realize that will make the price of salvage metal and recycled aluminum go up, which in the long term will help people out in the real world in the U.S., recycling old metal, old vehicles, garbage, trash, and anyway, I'll let you go on that.
Okay, well, I'll have Dave respond. Dave, respond to the caller, please.
Well, that's right. It will help in some industries and that. Of course, there's other industries, and I had dinner last week with a gentleman that had a meeting with a company here in Indiana that produces canned vegetables and stuff like that. And one of their complaints is that the cost of the cans and everything would go up, and would force the price of their vegetables and everything they sell to go up in that. And that may or may not be true. Time will tell with that. But at the same time, wages are going up in this country and everything else because of what's Trump doing. And it's all a part of the model of moving forward.
Dave, I want to switch stories right now, and I carried this in my first hour and had quite a bit of response, and I want to get your attitude on this. I absolutely will preface my remarks again by saying what happened to the students at Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida was absolutely a horrific and terrible experience, and I wish them the comfort of the good Lord. But for some of these students that are 15, 16, and 17-year-olds to come out as policy experts and demand that legal gun owners and taxpayers and parents and others in our society are absolutely furthering illicit activities by belonging to the NRA or owning guns, that is not up to these kids to do this type of thing, nor is it at all acceptable to hang up on the President of the United States when he called to give condolences.
Yeah, it's sad, but behind the scenes, the liberal left is getting into these people's heads, and they go out and it's just like what I fought with the SEIU. They get out and get in front of these people and use their lies and misinformation and everything, and they get into these younger people's heads because they know it's easy to do, and they brainwash them and they get them out to do this, and it's really sad. But the other point that really gets me is that down in this area, because of what's happened, and I think I might have told you this last week, that the school and the police and everything quit going after kids that were involved in any crimes, whether it was drugs or alcohol or driving or anything like that, because they wanted to have kids in school and stuff like that. It was all about the money for them. Of course, in those areas, particularly, there's, from what I understand, quite a few people on welfare and entitlements and stuff like that. And there's a lot of kids that are fatherless, and fatherless kids are going to do things that they shouldn't do. because they don't have that instruction and guidance as they grow up.
Absolutely. And, this thing, this gun control cancer, and that's what I think it is growing to the point where the Rosie O'Donnells calling the NRA and NRA members terrorists, and those trying to coerce doctors when you go to a doctor's appointment for the doctors to ask you if you are a gun owner and try to shame you. I mean, little by little, this insidiousness from the left is growing, like I said, like a cancer.
Well, it is, and it goes back, if you remember, I wrote a blog about this several years ago, that Cloward and Piven, the two communist people from Columbia University wrote a paper on how to bring down this country. And, it was a lot of welfare, a lot of entitlements, high national debt, nationalized health care, nationalized education, gun control. The list just goes on, dividing us as a country, by, religion or, background, whatever it may be. And this is all they're trying to do, because at the end of the day, they want to control us. They want to be in charge. And they're, with this election coming up, they're really, it's going to get worse. I mean, I don't know if you saw that there's some articles out there now that are going after Trump that says he did some sexual exploits he shouldn't have done.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see it get worse. It's going to get worse.
I agree with you. We have a caller with a question or a statement. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I've got a statement. I carry concealed weapon permit. Actually, I have two of them. I've had a multi-state, and I've got an Idaho. And, to get that, I was fingerprinted. My background was checked. It was proven I've never been on drugs or, a real heavy alcohol user. I have never broken a law, not even a misdemeanor. I think I'm a pretty responsible person. I've never committed a crime, major crime. And they're coming after the guys that, like us, that have got guns. I think they ought to go after the people that are funding Planned Parenthood, who kills 800 and some babies a day. And that's nothing but plain, ordinary, common murder, what they're doing, and nothing but it. It just upsets me. You have a few people killed by guns in this country a year, less than actually get killed by Planned Parenthood probably in a day. And we go after the gun. It's just ridiculous.
I appreciate your call, and I'm going to have Dave respond to your call right now. Thank you very much. Dave, go ahead, please.
I'm right on board with him, and it's sad. And the problem is, and I was going to talk to you about this, there's an article came out today about the Catholic faith, which I'm Catholic, that it shouldn't be involved in liberalism, and that the National Council of Bishops have gotten behind the unions on this Supreme Court case. But in that same thing, these bishops, and it's not all bishops, it's just the bishops that are on this panel, have come out and supported Planned Parenthood in that. And this is crazy. We as religious Christian people should be protecting the rights of unborn children and also protecting the rights of the rest of the people in our country that do the right thing.
I could not agree more. And, that leads me up to this. I absolutely am appalled, and I don't care whose toes I step on when I say this, that our society, inch by inch, foot by foot, yard by yard, is literally taking God and faith and values out of the equation, and I don't know if we can ever restore it, especially the God values that we've lived with so many years. They're being diminished and trashed and thrown to the curb.
Yeah. Well, going back to the Cloward and Piven, that was part of the whole thing, religion, they want that thrown out and everything. And Americans do need to wake up. We need to stand up and realize that at the end of the day, what they want this to be is a socialistic, communistic country, a totalitarian country where they control it. And we just can't let that happen. And Trump's the type that just scares them to death because he's bringing back some of the great things in America. And is he perfect? No, but nobody is. But let's hope that we can win this battle.
I agree. Wheels, I need to have Dave turned up a little bit more in my headset, if you would, please. And I also want to ask Dave about this. I think that we're too much of a high-tech society. I know I sound like an old fuddy-duddy cowboy that believes in the outdoors and rope and saddle and everything, and not really the smartphones and the computers and the internet. But I honestly believe that our kids today are being hooked by the social internet and social media, Facebook, etc. And now there's a major push to even start younger and go after the 5- and 6-year-olds. And we're talking about a growing society of people that don't know what it is to go get exercise, go for a hike, ride a horse up in the mountains or whatever. I'm scared about what's going on. Well, how are you?
Well, yeah, I hate to see that stuff, and it's interesting you brought that up because I stopped this morning. There's a place in McCordsville up the road from our offices that they have a place called Tim's Donuts, and they are great donuts. And it's not a very big place. It's not fancy or that, but they're great donuts, and the ladies and people in our office and over in our manufacturing facility love them. And I stop every once in a while and get them and that. And while I was standing in line to get them, there was a bunch of girls from local school district sitting in there, and they're all eating donuts, but the whole time, in the other hand, they've got cell phones in their hand going through things on the social media and stuff like that. And I'm just standing there shaking my head. You know, I would rather see these girls throw those phones in their pockets and sit there and have good conversations about life, what they do, and the sports they're involved in, and those type of things, instead of looking at the social media stuff all the time.
Yeah, and Dave, really, you know, I wasn't trying to be at all facetious when I was talking about the 5- and 6-year-olds, because I honestly believe that we're just absolutely raising a generation of kids that absolutely will never know come here from Sikkim when it comes out to going outside and maybe going boating, or maybe going canoeing, or maybe enjoying all of God's great creation, hiking, whatever it might be, because they're going to have their face tied to that stupid little screen.
Well, that's right. And here's the other thing. It's just like, you know, as you know, we own a golf course here, and the golf industry is going downhill. And it's a lot of it's attributed to the fact that kids want to be in front of the TV or their, you know, little computer screens or whatever all the time, playing those type of games, instead of going out and being outside doing things that really physically and mentally do great things for you. And it's sad to see that sports are falling because of that.
Well, yeah, but wait a minute, real quick, and I've only got a minute and a half left, but how do we change it? I mean, I'm not trying to put the ball in your court and say dribble it, it's out of air, but how do we change this thing?
It's tough, and, you know, it's like, you know, us being in the golf industry, we are really out there promoting golf and talking to people that, no, you know, you want to get out here and get on the course and enjoy nature and really play golf the way it was supposed to be, not looking at a screen. And, you know, these places like Top Golf that are around the country that have this stuff, you know, it's too easy for people to go to those and sit there and have drinks and that, and get up and play a little golf and sit down and do that and look at their phones and screens and stuff like that. And it's we just got to keep getting in people's heads and talking to them like the other side does.
I agree. Dave, always appreciate your taking the time to be on my program, and I have the utmost respect for you as an author and a businessman. And Dave Bego, Indianapolis, Indiana, we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and hopefully we'll have better weather.
All right, sir. Take care of yourself. Thank you much. Dave Bego, Indianapolis, Indiana. Super good friend. I appreciate him. Excuse me. Sore throat, little congestion today. Can't get rid of that cold. You know what? Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, is having their anniversary sale. 1 week only. This week. Get in there. Holy cow, up to 3 years interest-free on approved credit. And listen to this. Listen to this. Don't miss this. 30 to 40% off. all the dining room sets and the recliners and the media cabinets, and they've got a newly expanded sleep center with all the mattresses and the bedroom sets and all the carpeting. What are you waiting for? Start the car, Martha, and head for Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Jeff and the whole crew serving you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Really good people. One other thing, too, I want to remind you about is Let's Ride. Hello, Nick, Randy, and the whole crew over there, Tyson in the service department. I'm talking good people over there. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the entire world. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And I've been telling you, and the sunshine is proving me out, that it's not going to be long. Just peek around the corner. Yep, there's spring. And you better get your four-wheeler serviced right now. Call, make an appointment, get your four-wheelers over there. Best service department, Tyson and the crew can help you. And then if you don't have four-wheelers, well, voila. They've got a great big showroom. I don't know how they crammed them all in there, for heaven's sakes. They can help you because at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world, this is where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. Stop over and see them today. Okum dokum. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and we have a gentleman on the program that has not been on my program before, I don't think, and I'm looking forward to having him on the air. John Horvat, good morning, sir. How are you?
Great to be on the show.
Well, I hope you think the same after the next 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right. John, I read your article, and I want you to kind of expand on it, because right now, I'm just going to come out and say it. I think that the Second Amendment and legal gun owners like myself, and also members of the NRA like myself, are under a complete frontal attack by the left. And you brought up an idea and a subject matter, the other gun culture no one criticizes. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, the gun culture that you just spoke about, that's the one that that's a pretty safe gun culture. But the other culture is the violence on the films and the video games. I mean, it's just so obvious that there's something wrong there. These actors just break every safety rule that you were ever taught, or I was ever taught, and shoot anything that moves. This is something I think that needs to be addressed, because obviously this does have an effect on the culture.
You know, I absolutely agree with you, and it's nice to have somebody on this program that brings this up, because I have said the videos that you can get at the store, whether it's Grand Theft Auto or any other of the garbage types like that, and the movies and the television shows, the absolutely pathetic so-called sitcoms, our culture is, and I mean this when I say it, our culture is going to hell because of what's being pushed in front of us.
Exactly. You'd wonder, if you were to subject the films and the video games to the gun control laws or the gun laws that are on the books now, I mean, you wouldn't have it. They couldn't do it. I mean, you couldn't have an action movie with a nine cartridge clip. It won't last long. But they just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and kill and kill and kill. The mass killings are straight out of a Hollywood script. They're not from an NRA manual.
How do we go about, though, John, and I want you to be more poignant and pinpointed in your answer on this. How do we go about changing the culture? And, I'm going to show some age here. I'm an old man. But I grew up looking at and reading the Saturday Evening Post with the Norman Rockwell paintings on the front of the cover, with families going to church, families sitting down at the Thanksgiving table. Can we ever get back to that?
Well, I think we can. I think we have to. There's really no other solution, because this kind of violence can only be met with either by violence or by some kind of mechanisms that that prevent violence. And it's in this case, it's either family, faith, or community, or the government. And the government is will be a tyranny. Whereas when you have family, faith, and community, those are the voluntary mechanisms that that are in society that naturally regulate behavior and keep behavior under control because it's according to our nature. You're not doing anything. You're not doing the violence to the person by subjecting him to the family, faith, and community.
Who are, in your opinion, the they? Who are they in these stories? I mean, who are the people that are all gathered together, perhaps behind doors, coming up with clandestine ideas to take our guns away and take us into total control? Who are they?
I think it involves a liberal establishment that includes a lot of people from academia, from the universities, people in government, and also in business, for that matter. These are this is something that has been a process. It just didn't happen overnight. It's a process whereby they become ever more liberal. Ever more saying, well, let's have more freedom, in the sense that allowing people to do what they want and regardless of the consequences. I think that this establishment has just been it feeds upon itself and gets ever worse. Now this liberal establishment is going after our guns, going after the war on men and boys, and allowing everyone to identify as they think what they are.
Okay, now, boy, you've hit it, John. I think all of a sudden you're one of my best friends. You've really touched on some subject matter that needs to be discussed. The attitude against men in this country, or to use some of the absolute idiotic terminology, toxic masculinity, a continued assault every day on men that want to be men that want to lead their families, men that want to be great fathers and examples and role models to their kids, and they're being denigrated. What are we going to do?
Well, I think we have to be men and just man up to it and say, look, this is going to be a battle, this is going to be a fight. It's not going to be easy, and it isn't easy. But you have to fight it. You have to really get engaged in the whole thing and say no. I think that's the final analysis. That's where we're going.
Well, I couldn't agree more, because that's the word that is out of the English language now when it comes to parenting and raising kids, also in our education system. No. And mean no and stand behind no, instead of, oh, well, go ahead anyway. This is the problem we have with the younger generation. But when I looked at the kids that were standing up after the horrendous, terrible experience at Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and they stood up at their protest behind microphones, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that now all of a sudden are policy experts, and they damn and condemn legal gun owners, myself, yourself, taxpayers, and they say the NRA is terrible and the Second Amendment has to go. And then some of the students that were contacted by President Trump, they hung up on the president. Where is the respect?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is. They're not experts simply by the fact that they were victims. And we have to make that very, very, very clear that there are. This is what I've always said. It's a moral problem. It's not a gun problem. It's not an education problem. It's a moral problem. It involves right and wrong, and there's where you have to resolve it. Not in these crazy legislation bills.
But, John, what do we do, though, if anything, after the Las Vegas shooting and, of course, back in Connecticut and the Florida shooting, etc., the left and others are clamoring for answers, even though we have a multiplicity of bills in force right now for gun control and gun crimes. What are we going to do? How are we going to meet them halfway if we can?
I don't see how we can meet them halfway. Obviously there are some little things that might be done, but that's not meeting them halfway. Because if you have to meet the person that's assaulting your house or other thing, you have to meet them halfway. You have to meet them with a proportional response. But in this particular case, I think we have to we have to fight it. Just to say, well, we'll meet you halfway and eventually we'll work this thing out. any type of thing that we will work out with them. It will not really address the central issue. It will simply make make it a little more difficult, maybe, for these things to happen, or something of that nature, but it's not going to resolve it.
John, I honestly feel, this being March 7th, 2018, and I said earlier in the first hour that I think within 60 days, this cancer that's growing across our country for gun control and the denigration of the NRA and NRA members, and you had Rosie O'Donnell coming out yesterday and calling all the members of the NRA terrorists. I mean, I think this thing is somehow got to be nipped in the bud, or we're looking at total anarchy and chaos, aren't we?
Oh, definitely we are, yeah. It is. It points in that direction because, these people are just saying crazy things. One thing I've noticed about the left is now that anything could be an issue. They just take an issue and just become rabid about it. The issue of thoughts and prayers. President Trump said, "Well, my thoughts and prayers are with you." Now that's become an issue. They're shaming prayer. They're saying, "Shame on you for calling on prayers," and that's where the answer is much more there than it is in the government regulations that they want to put through.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here because you're an expert on this and have written about it. But here we are, and possibly the Second Amendment under attack, gun owners under attack to protect their property and their families. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you today as compared to maybe where you were a year ago on this date?
On this particular issue of gun control?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very concerned. I think it's, let's say, 1 is the most concerned. Yeah, it would be maybe 3, as opposed to 5,
In regards to cleaning up the culture, though, in regards to the video games, I'll highlight that. I have said for a long time, and my children are grown and they have families of their own right now, that garbage, which it is, whether it's like the Grand Theft Auto or whatever, the kill, the stealing, and all the other things, that would never have come into my home. So it goes back to a parenting issue, too, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah, and that's where it all starts. It has to start in the home. It has to start in the family. That's where you're going to be you're going to be the most effective there, and of course you still have to do actions in society and in your communities. But the family is the center. It's the basic social unit. That's where everything starts, and where if you succeed in getting that stuff out of your family, you've come a long way. You've done a great thing.
Let me ask you. You do a lot of public speaking, and you're also an educator and a researcher, etc. But when you're giving a speech on these topics, what has been some of the negativity that's been thrown on you for a return to a more godly culture? What do they say to you?
Well, I mean, it's surprising that a lot of people are searching for these kind of things. They don't want to admit it, but they are searching for that kind of things. And it's been rather positive. I expected much more. I've spoken at universities or places where you don't expect people to maybe resonate with some of these issues, but a lot of people are saying, well, there's definitely something wrong here, and even young people are very upbeat on the idea. I think a lot of people are searching for these things, and they're just not finding them. So, I don't get nearly as much negativity as I expected.
I'm surprised when we hear about certain individuals that are turned away or shunned because of their conservative and or Christian attitudes from major universities and colleges, and then at the same time those same colleges, in example like University of Yukon, they will welcome in a Muslim woman by the name of Linda Sarsour that is absolutely preaching anarchy and chaos. I mean, I don't understand the university system anymore, and I would really be afraid to have a child college age going to a major campus today.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the liberals are in control, especially in those state universities and things. But you do find people that do fight even on campuses, and But for the most part, a lot of them just have to suck it up and say, well, I'm going to, put up with it. But they really shouldn't.
I was reading some of your bio notes, and one sentence caught my eye. It said, return to order from a frenzied economy to an organic Christian society. I think I know where you're headed, but I'd like you to explain that a little bit.
Yeah, we live in a society where everybody wants everything instantly, now, regardless of the consequences, without effort. And so it affects our economy and our culture. It really, I think that's one of our biggest problems is this what I call frenetic intemperance, that's all over the place. And what we need to do is to go back to what I call an organic Christian society, which is a society that's based upon family, faith, and community, natural leaderships, things that are according to our nature and have been the way in which societies have been organized since the beginning. We are social beings. And we've always had that kind of thing. But today, those things are being destroyed, those mechanisms, those customs and traditions that are so very important to the balanced formation of a person.
John, it's easy to say, and I'm not denigrating what you just said. I agree with you. But it's easy to say we need to go back to. But why in the world did we ever escape from it?
That's true. We shouldn't have. I mean, I know, but the 60s did a lot in that regard. The 60s just burst upon the scenes and, destroyed a lot of those customs and things, those traditions and ways of being and manners and ways of dressing, etc. And once that happened, it's hard to go back. It's like putting toothpaste back into the tube.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we've lost a lot of that, and people who want to go back find it much harder to do than if it was just a momentary thing.
Absolutely. Now, in regards to your books, where can people find your works? And I highly recommend. I can hear by talking to you that you're the kind of a guy with your ideology I want to have on the program more often. Tell us a little bit more about those.
Okay. Well, you can go to www.returntoorder.org. That's my website, and it's where you can get copies of the book. And I have a blog there which deals applies the principles of the book to what's happening, like these issues of gun control or immigration, you name it, all these issues that are burning issues. So you could find a lot of good material there, and some free stuff as well. There's some you can subscribe to the newsletter. So it's www.returntoorder.org.
Very good. Well, John, I've enjoyed having you on the program. By the way, where is 717 area code? I'm not familiar with that, I guess.
It's in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Pennsylvania.
Okay. I have been through there. I've been through there on numerous occasions when I used to drive back to New York, when I did drive back to New York. And the one thing I noticed about some of your rural roads in Pennsylvania, some of them are doggone tiny.
That's true.
Well,
but it's beautiful country. I'm in the rural area, so it's really it's really great. I'm originally from the Midwest in Kansas City, so I like the open spaces, but this is pretty nice as well.
Well, I really want to compliment you for coming on the program, doing a great job. I hope you'll consent to coming back in the future. John Horvat, thank you very, very much.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you, sir. Very interesting man, and he's got the principles and ideals that I know that we need to get back to, and I appreciate his comments here this morning. Thank you very much. Oh, boy, I better get a weather forecast on here right now. Wheels over there. He's ready to give it to us. But first and foremost, I want to tell everybody, before we take some more of your calls, that the weather is brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for over 50 years. And you know what? I know you don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear it. It's tax time. Yeah, it's tax time. Oh, no. It's not that far from April 15th. They do the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and more. And we are absolutely thrilled with the work they do. I mean, great people. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they have offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's the weather.
We've got another beautiful day ahead of us here in the valley. Here's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch. Looking at mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 43. Winds out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 20 miles an hour. For tonight, clouds will be making their way into the valley. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 26. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies with a high of 48. Looks like we do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast for Thursday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low near 33. Friday, 30% chance of rain showers, mostly in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high of 50. Then by Saturday, back to sunny skies and 45. That's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch.
And thank you. Not too bad a weather forecast, and brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. They're busy right now, but I'll tell you what, they can and they will help you. Be sure and get a hold of them today, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. If you're starting a business or if you want to expand your business and hire more employees, all of these things along with all your tax work, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Really good people. Okay, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know if you heard this or saw this, but I don't know the story behind the videotape that was played, but there was a Walmart employee, I think it was down, and I'll stand corrected on this, Athens, Georgia, at a Walmart store. And they were having some kind of a patriotic promotion or something, and she burst into the national anthem. Wow. I mean, this lady, and she was a checker at Walmart, and she was standing there by the cash register and all of a sudden broke into the national anthem, and an outstanding job. Outstanding job. And it brought to mind how lucky we are here to have so many great singers. I mean, singers that pay attention and pay honor to our national anthem when they sing it. And one lady in particular always comes to mind because she does an outstanding job every time she stands up and sings the national anthem, and that's Linda Croft. I mean, at Lunch Bunch, we usually have a prayer, thanks to Jimmy Flowers, a pledge that we all recite, and then Linda sings, the national anthem. And what really, it sends a shiver up my backbone. What really hits me is, while that national anthem is being sung, if you'll let your eyes just kind of go around the rest of the restaurant at Denny's, the employees and many and most of the people that are in there enjoying their meal stop, stand up, and honor our flag. It's amazing. And Linda does a phenomenal job. Oh, let's see what's coming up on Friday night. Oh, we got to get this on the Raft River Rodeo Club. Hello, cowboys and cowgirls up there. They're going to have their annual dinner and auction this Friday night at 6:30. It's going to be in the high school gym. And they've got a whole bunch of great auction items, and they're going to have a super, super good dinner, pulled pork and all the trimmings. Woo-hoo. And the proceeds are going to go to help the kids with their entry fees, and also sending the top cowboys and cowgirls to the state and hopefully to the Nationals. Raft River Rodeo Club, big function this Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Don't you miss it. While I'm waiting for your call, then I know you're dialing right now. I can hear your fingers. See, I told you. I'll be right with you, caller. Don't forget, when you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, yeah. Dedicated and responsive to your needs. They're very accessible and knowledgeable. You give them a call today, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey, have you heard or seen that video of that young lady with Down syndrome sing the national anthem?
I have not.
Oh, it'll just make the hair on back of your neck stand up. She does a phenomenal job.
I am going to ask, I guess, the obvious question. Where and how can I obtain the viewing of that and the listening to it? Is it on YouTube or what?
Yes, I will. I've got it somewhere. I'll look up and see if I can send it to you.
You know, what you just said there, it brings to mind that I would like to mention that the singers that sing the national anthem the best are those that don't try to carve it up with their own personal preferences and their own style. And I go back to Linda Croft. She gets up, sings the anthem from her heart, the way it should be sung, and doesn't need to flower it up, and it comes off absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds like an angel singing it when Linda does it.
Yes.
And this young lady, this little young gal with Down syndrome, it was at a professional basketball game.
Oh, wow.
And you ought to have seen the looks on some of those players. They were just, their mouth was dropping. They were just in awe of this young lady.
And, you know, Doug, there are those that want to change and or get rid of our national anthem. And if there's anything that is going to create me to absolutely put on my fighting clothes, that's it. I am not going to see that national anthem be changed.
Me either. So, anyway, God bless.
Thank you, my friend.
I'll get that sent to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I got time for another call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Next hour, we have got a couple of people on that it should be really, really interesting. At 10:06, I've got a gentleman by the name of Ron Hosko coming on to talk about MS-13. This gang is so cruel, so insidious, and so dangerous. We're going to talk to Ron Hosko about that. And then we're going to talk to a former FBI member at 10:30 this morning by the name of Jack Owens. He's got a brand new book out. We're going to talk to him about that. So all of that coming up in the next hour. Now, tomorrow on the program, it's our Thursday special. You know, we've got all the different segments and everything, and we've got, of course, the visit with some of the great professionals at Cassia Regional Hospital and the Chamber of Commerce, and Rita's going to be on the program, and then we got Cassia County School Days. We've got a full plate tomorrow, so you don't want to miss a minute of it. Right now, I know I'm a little early, Wheels, but I got to make a phone call here real quick. We're going to send it back over to Wheels, and I will be back in about 7 minutes. Don't you go away. Oh, here we go. Hour number 3 on a beautiful morning, Wednesday, March 7th. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, all 7 of them, having a great big spring tire sale right now. Stop in and see them today. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We are going to go right to my guest, and he is the president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund and former assistant director of the FBI. I better behave myself. Hello, Ron Hosko. How are you?
Hey, Seb. Good to be with you today.
Well, let's see if you say that after the next 25 minutes, okay?
Okay, we'll give it a go.
Ron, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I have said for a long time on my program, and I've said it for a long time everywhere I go to speak, etc., that we've got a real problem in this country with gangs and the encroachment of gangs from foreign countries, i.e. MS-13. I thought, to set this up a little bit, that what President Trump said during the State of the Union message was spot on, and he took a lot of criticism over it. That being said, lead us up to what you want to talk about this morning about a deadly gang, MS-13.
Well, you know, America has dozens and dozens of gangs. Some are extremely deadly, powerful, large in numbers. I had worked for roughly a dozen years in Chicago, most most of that time on violent crimes and saw the impact of some of the larger street gangs, the Gangster Disciples, mostly the most powerful ones and most deadly there were the black street gangs, Gangster Disciples, Vice Lords, and many others. Very effective killing machines. But we also, in the FBI, took a hard look at a range of gangs across the country, and there was a big concern in the early 2000s about MS-13, and this kind of very powerful Central American gang that was showing its deadly brutality in America. And we were instructed back then, this was around 2003, across the country to take a look at the impact of MS-13. Like other gangs, MS-13 was that back then emergent, and in the office that I was assigned at that time, which was up in Philadelphia, not that great of a threat comparatively. However, MS-13 has continued to expand its impact, to expand its deadly nature, and as you mentioned, and I mentioned in the President's State of the Union address in late January, he pointed out for parents in the mezzanine who were sitting near his wife, who were still grieving at that time, having been impacted by the murderous hand of MS-13. They were the parents of two younger girls, Nisa Mickens and Kayla Cuevas, one of whom was familiar with MS-13, had some sort of dispute with an MS-13 faction in September 2016, and were spotted on the street, and they were savagely beaten by MS-13 associates. The president, I think, was right in pointing them out. They were symbolic of the brutality of this international gang, a gang that is fed by illegal immigration and unaccompanied minors coming across the border, some of whom were undoubtedly destined for gang affiliation here in the United States. In this case, it is a deadly gang that makes its mark by brutal gang violence, with victims tossed, typically in shallow graves, with the evidence of torture.
Wow. Let me ask you
for an intro comment.
No, it's what needs to be said, Ron, and I appreciate the blunt force of your words because they were honest and factual, and I appreciate that. Let me ask you some questions, and some of these questions may be a little bit naive, so please bear with me. When it comes to MS-13, or, for that matter, any gang that's of a cruel and killing nature like these gangs are, what is their mantra? What is their goal? What are their code of ethics, if they have any, or code of honor? What are they trying to accomplish and or do? Give us something that relates to that.
Well, in the case of MS-13, this is an organization, again, with really the central leadership coming from Central America. This is an El Salvadoran-based corrupt organization whose own motto is kill, rape, control.
Wow.
And when they come to the United States, very often they are coming with direction from that gang leadership to expand the influence of the organization itself. That is to recruit, to grow in strength, to grow in threat, to grow in power. And there are directions from gang leadership in Central America to expand. And so you see aggressive recruitment here. I live in Northern Virginia and have witnessed this kind of play out literally in my own backyard. When I was the special agent in charge of criminal and cyber investigations in the Washington field office, the territory encompassed Washington, D.C., and counties in Northern Virginia. And because of the work of a joint violent gang task force here in Northern Virginia, the office had been very successful in beating back MS-13 through prosecutions. In the era just before I got there, which was around 2010. And so we didn't have a tremendous amount of MS-13 work because of prior success in the territory. But what we had was good intelligence, and we were listening to the gang leadership in Central America start to tell the gang here, gang members in Northern Virginia, to start to rebuild, to reconstitute. And some of that in the intervening years, that reconstitution was through gang recruitment on the streets, MS-13 members going to other young men and women and recruiting them into the organization, certainly focused on young men. High school age, so we saw it start to play out in the schools, typically in the high schools and middle schools, where we'd hear about aggressive MS-13 recruitment at the point of a gun, at the point of a knife. We would start to see evidence of lower-level attacks on rival gangs, and that was typically the gang known as 18th Street. And in the Hispanic neighborhoods of Northern Virginia, and then you would start to hear of missing kids, tortured kids,
oh my,
murdered kids. When I say kids, I'm talking about 15, 16, 17, 18, into their early 20s. Kids missing, then the bodies would turn up, and we would hear evidence of orders from Central America to reconstitute. What the gang had done is flee Northern Virginia and start to cross the border over into Maryland, into D.C., lay low for a period of time. But then when it came to reconstituting, there was aggressive recruitment. You would hear stabbings. You would hear about fights. You would hear about the recruitment techniques. And they were fulfilling their motto, which was kill, rape, control. There was killing.
Wow.
There was rape. There was the use of young ladies as victims. They were recruited into the gang association. They were prostituted out to raise money, and the gang was doing what they say they're going to do, start to control.
Now,
they would control people. They would start to control territory through their violence.
Now, let me ask you this, and again, it sounds naive on my part, but when you say that was their ultimate goal, was for a control factor, how big an area, or what is their main goal as far as control is concerned? Control is a kind of an ambiguous word. Are they looking to control our government? Are they looking to control all of our inner cities? Are they looking to put a scare into all Americans, to where even in rural communities they want people to know that they are in control? Give us kind of a thought on that.
Yeah, they certainly weren't powerful enough to control our government, because you would see how the U.S. government, and particularly law enforcement, would respond. Because when you start to see the gang graffiti, when you would start to hear the evidence of an expanded nature and expanded influence through evidence of violence, attacks, through murder, our government and our law enforcement is quite capable. And so what we would do is stand up or expand our violent crime and violent gang task forces jointly with local law enforcement and other federal, state and federal agencies, and start to focus on these, on the violence. And that was, we would try to identify potential informants, human sources, use electronic surveillance, use physical surveillance, concentrate on the gang and build enterprise cases, which included very often racketeering-type charges that brought by the federal prosecutors, and identify the participants and convict them and sentence them to long periods of time in federal prison. So what they were trying to do was control people and control territory, expand their territory, expand their power, their breadth. And for a period of time, make no mistake, there is and should be a sense of apprehension in the community because these guys are extortionists, they are rapists, they are engaged in sexual assault and subjugation in the name of this gang. They were all about intimidation, and so what you find is victims who are left in shallow graves, left on the streets as an example to others, gang graffiti, intimidation, witness intimidation, intimidation of residents, people being told they're going to pay a tax to the gang to avoid problems with the gang. And so you would have gang enforcers out collecting and intimidating the public. This was, in many cases, not discreet, not very closely held like you tend to see with LCN, La Cosa Nostra, Italian organized criminal groups, where their primary victims are others who are of the same persuasion in very small enclaves. Here, there's a significant Hispanic population in Northern Virginia, in D.C., and across the border in the state of Maryland, and so you have a lot of potential victims where people just trying to get along are being victimized. Businesses are being victimized.
Wow!
These guys want to expand, and they want to collect, and they want to have their way, and the government, that is law enforcement, needs to push back and. In many cases, we've done that very successfully. Not only here, you see it up in Long Island. I think I just saw 4 MS-13 members convicted up in Boston. So these guys want to expand their influence, and when they do, law enforcement will push back.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm going to make it a twofold question. Number one, these are punks. These are kids. These are teenagers. I hope they're not being treated as teenagers. I mean, this is vermin, human vermin, that are absolutely killing, maiming, and destroying lives. And why were they allowed to grow? Is it because previous administrations turned a deaf ear and a blind eye to them, or what happened here?
Well, I think there is no doubt that the Obama administration started to relax the rules of immigration enforcement. And we saw the flow of unaccompanied minors, unaccompanied alien children into the United States. I know that a number of groups were trying to watch and trying to assess and collect data. It becomes very hard when the government itself is turning a blind eye, and I think the Obama administration's view of illegal immigration became one of the greatest challenges to enforcement. You had an administration that was really very much engaged in a catch-and-release program.
Oh, my.
Where you had potentially dangerous people flowing across our southern border, some of them claiming what's known as credible fear. So I might be very closely affiliated with MS-13 or 18th Street or other violent enterprises, and I get caught coming across the border, and I would claim credible fear of persecution by my own government in Central America or by other gang members if I were to be returned. And what happened? You were given a hearing date 2 years away and released in the United States.
Oh, my goodness.
It was very much a catch-and-release program for the range of criminal actors as well as complete innocents coming from, across the southern border. And here's your court date. Please appear in 2 years.
Oh, my goodness.
In the meantime, you could recede into the shadows of the United States.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned money earlier, Ron, and I'm having a hard time swallowing the fact that they made all their money just by perhaps illegal prostitution and other means and methods. It almost sounds to me, as a naive talk show host, that there had to be some big money coming in from afar to help promote their cause in the first place. Am I wrong?
Well, typically when you're talking about youthful offenders from across the southern border, you're talking about drug trafficking as well. So there's extortion, there is human trafficking of women, there is drug transactions, and so that, by and large, can sustain some of these folks. And, of course, some of them are going to blend in with the rest of the population and go to school, go to high school, find jobs, do those jobs by day, but at night, there's a darker side. So it is these organizations are typically polycriminal. So they're not just engaging in one criminal act or activity; they're engaging in multiple. They're told to go out and raise money and pour some of that money back into the organization, and that sustains it.
I've only got about
MS-13 itself. Not typically thought of as the big criminal cartel of, say, Sinaloa, the Gulf Cartel, Beltran Leyva, some of the other bigger, notable, the Zetas cartels that are dealing in huge volumes of heroin, of cocaine, of methamphetamine, but they are very effective money-making machines when they're here.
Let me ask you this. I've only got about 5 minutes left in this segment. I wished I had 5 hours. What about the MS-13 members themselves? What are they like? Their personalities when they're captured? Are they the typical no longer in the gang, no longer gang protection, and they turn into little cringing cowards? What are they like?
Like with any criminal organization, it's going to vary. You are going to have some who are very hardened, who understand what it's like to deal with the criminal justice system in America. They're going to shut their mouth and they're going to take their time and go serve their time, hoping that the gang, friends that they have in prison, and these folks do migrate from the streets to the prisons. There are gang factions in prison of all descriptions. But some of these folks are going to ultimately, because they're offered a deal or because they see maybe a better opportunity with the government, become informants, have their time cut. In fact, in today's papers and yesterday's papers, there is the story of an FBI informant within the gang that was part of a gang murder.
Wow.
And when that gets exposed, that person's going to get their time too, because at the end of the day, I understand. Look, I was a Fed. I did operate human sources. You were trying to get them to flip, to tell, to be informants on their own organizations. And make no mistake, these are very often not choir boys. Very often they're going to be engaged in the same activities as the gang that they're reporting on. And in this case, this FBI informant was turned out to be a gang murderer.
Oh, my.
He participated in a murder. I think his excuse was, look, we were in the car driving to the murder location with the victim. I'm not exactly positioned to call my FBI handler and report on that.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to go to jail because of that.
Let me ask you this.
That's what you're dealing with, the whole range of aberrant human conduct and behavior.
Ron, I've only got about 90 seconds left, and I think that my audience probably should be very aware of where these people are. It's not just subjected to the East Coast or the West Coast, but I understand that they have infiltrated many of the states of the United States. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, the estimate is at least in 40 states, these folks are perhaps 10,000 strong or more. You see their influence across, particularly up and down the East Coast, in Texas, in Louisiana, and then across some of the southern border states, certainly in New Mexico, Arizona, California. where the Hispanic populations are most concentrated, you're very likely to find MS-13 and other violent gang members.
And I would imagine, and I'm just going to ask you this quickly, I would imagine the wannabes. The wannabes also are a problem that try to imitate, and the copycat attitude, right?
That's right. These kids are younger and younger. There are kids in high school and in middle school are vulnerable, and we all have a responsibility here to be alert for the influence.
Ron, I'm going to ask you, I hope you enjoyed your time on my program, and I'm going to ask you to please come back in the future. You are extremely interesting and well-versed on this problem that I think needs to be highlighted much more. Would you please consent to come back in a couple of weeks? I'd love to have you on the program.
I'd love to do it.
All right, sir. Ron Husko, an absolutely interesting person, president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, former assistant director of the FBI, and talking about MS-13. Wow, he was good. I want to remind you, too, about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. Yep, number to call, 678-1177. I want to urge you that now's the time to take your puppies in for their parvo shot. Yes, don't forget it. It's very important. And also, Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, they love them all, they take care of them all. Dr. Bill and the entire staff, they can and they will help your animals. Ark Animal Hospital, they do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Call them, 678-1177, Ark Animal Hospital. We are going to come back in a few minutes with our next guest that also has been connected to the FBI, and his name is Jack Owens, and he's going to be talking about a brand new book that he has written, so stay tuned. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Good morning. Welcome back into our last half hour. This must be the day for the FBI. I've had quite a few people affiliated with the FBI, and this next gentleman on the air is a gentleman that is a 30-year veteran of the FBI, and also an author. His name is Jack Owens, and he had a book called Don't Shoot, We're Republicans, and he's got a new book out called POC, and we're going to get him on the air right now. Jack, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hello, Zeb. I'm doing fine. Thanks for inviting me on your show.
You're very welcome, and I guess I'm going to back up a little bit and ask you about the book, Don't Shoot, We're Republicans. Tell us a little bit about that book before we get into everything else.
That book is a memoir of my 3 decades in the Bureau. It's a quote, Zeb, from an FBI roadblock in rural Alabama. One dark night, we rushed a car we thought had a bad guy in it, and it turned out when we opened the door and the dome light came on, there were 2 well-dressed elderly ladies. We were pointing shotguns at them, and one of them raised her hand and said, "Don't shoot. We're Republicans." I knew it would make a good title someday.
Well, it made me chuckle. What was the gist of the book, though? Give us a little background on it.
My memoir, I told the story of 3 decades in basically chronological advance in form, because I was involved in a lot of big cases. I mean, so are many agents. I just thoroughly enjoyed working these big cases, and as I look back, it was fascinating to be involved in this work. I loved being an agent.
Well, let me ask you that real quick, Jack. You loved being an agent, 30-year veteran of the FBI. Where and how does a person determine enough is enough, I better get out, I better retire? I mean, what's the warning signs that maybe you've been too long in the FBI?
Good point. The Bureau, Zeb, is a jealous mistress. Agents can't publish. I had been writing and wanted to write. I kept manuscripts under my bed, so to speak. And one day, after I'd been in it over 30 years, I kind of hit the wall. I'd done everything I wanted to do. I was very fortunate, and I wanted to write, start publishing my novels, my memoir, my short stories and articles. So I left, I retired in August 1999. I I was not on active duty with the Bureau when 9/11 occurred.
Now, when you talk about the FBI today, and I think it's unfortunate, but there are truths involved in the criticism that the FBI in certain stories and certain circumstances as of late has literally dropped the ball. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes. Director Wray admitted, particularly concerning the shooting, horrible slaughter in Florida, that the Bureau dropped the ball in not expeditiously, per our tip line information, notifying the Miami field office. We were late, tardy in doing that. We should apologize to the American people, to the families in Florida, and the director has done so.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have a call with a question, and I've got a lot of questions left. So, caller, I'm going to ask you to be very quick with your question and direct it now. Please, go ahead, please.
Okay, at the risk of sounding naive, why aren't agents allowed to publish?
All right.
We have a lot on our plate. The FBI has more jurisdiction with federal courts.
Go ahead, please.
The Bureau doesn't want our attention divided off writing books when we ought to be doing our jobs. That's basically the reason.
Do you see the personality of the FBI? And I want to preface my remarks, Jack, by saying I know a lot of FBI people around the United States. I consider them my friends. We've had many, many great casual conversations. But the FBI, it's not the same FBI today as it was maybe 30, 40 years ago. Would you agree with that statement or not?
I don't in this sense, Zeb. It's been my great joy to get to know the current generation of agents since I retired, particularly with the Birmingham field office, which is a outstanding group of people, typical of the 56 field offices around the country. I have great faith in this current generation. They are very skilled with varied backgrounds from all over the country. They're computer scientists, they're lawyers and accountants, and they speak foreign languages. They know a lot about business. They have advanced degrees for the most part. They are an impressive bunch. I have faith the Bureau's in good hands.
Is it because, Jack, and again, I'm not going to point the finger and condemn because I really don't know, but is it a lack of leadership at the top of the pier, or is it a trickle-down effect that has started with Comey and others that didn't perhaps have all the respect necessary? I mean, tell us, is that the problem?
I don't think the problem is at the top. Of course, I was never there. I was always a street agent. I never wanted to go to headquarters. But Zeb, I was impressed with Director Wray's testimony before Congress when he was appointed by President Trump. I think the president made an excellent decision in choosing Wray. I think he's a leader. He's a gutsy guy. He's well qualified, has shown leadership in coming up through the Bureau, has a terrific background, really. I look forward to his leadership.
You know, Jack, when you look at the problems in America today with these mass shootings and utter chaos, whether it's Stony Brook or whether it's Las Vegas or this last absolutely heinous event down in Florida, what is the answer? I mean, really, what is the answer? I'm a gun owner. I'm a member of the NRA, and I don't like having the fingers pointed to me like have been many entertainers, i.e. Rosie O'Donnell yesterday, calling all the NRA and its members terrorists. I'm really thinking that we're on the verge of a complete civil disorder in this country with the good guys and the bad guys. That's where I think we're headed.
The NRA and its membership are not terrorists. They're decent American citizens. I look at the Florida shooting, which has drawn criticism toward the NRA. I look at that shooting as adults in law enforcement, including local, state, law enforcement and the FBI, the adults let these children down. They were slaughtered, and it looks like it could have been prevented or affected in some way had we all acted in concert and done our jobs. We need to do our jobs.
I agree with that, but you just said three words that really piqued my interest. You said, had they all acted in concert. Why is it, and we've seen this happen in too many instances, and all the different law bureaus, etc., they seem like they're almost jealous and not giving out all the information to another concern. Am I wrong on that?
You could be in this instance, although I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the turf wars between the Bureau and local and state law enforcement during my career here in Alabama. There have definitely been turf wars between federal agencies, law enforcement and otherwise. In recent decades, particularly before 9/11, when the CIA did not share information with the Bureau that could have helped. But I look back on Parkland in Florida with great sadness. The local law enforcement had a lot of tips about this guy, that he wasn't right, that he was dangerous. They responded to a lot of calls for help from his family and other people. And armed with that information, nothing was done. And the Bureau got this information on him. I don't even want to say his name. Got this information on him in our tip line, and we didn't use it expeditiously.
Absolutely.
We're all at fault.
Yeah. You know, Jack, one question I've always had, and I've never really asked anyone that I know in the FBI, but what motivates a young man or young woman, and what personality traits do you have to really become a good FBI member?
Zip, that's an excellent question. I do a lot of recruiting. I still do. We are looking for men and women who are curious, with intellectual curiosity, but mainly who are good communicators, good writers, speakers, who know the English language more than anything else. The Bureau doesn't go to the biggest, strongest, and the fastest. It goes to men and women with zeal for the Constitution, the rule of law, and we have them from all over the country. We have over 13,000 agents, and when I came in, we had, in 1969, around 6,000 or less. The FBI relies on men and women with common sense and patriotism to make it function. You have to hire good people. That's where it starts.
Absolutely. Okay, now I want to talk about your new book. It's called POC. Where in the world did you come up with this? It must have been a late night someplace on the back porch looking at the moon, right?
Yeah, I had some late nights and static surveillances on serial killer cases, and I wanted to construct a character that would be sympathetic, who would be humorous, and yet a person who was living outside the law, killing people. My character, POC, which is a derisive, mocking name that people give him because he's ugly with a moonscape face, he has a shorter right leg and a club foot. He's an intellectual. He got religion in prison. He's a Bible scholar. He loves Bulgarian opera. He loves Victorian old-fashioned language. He's an interesting guy. And law enforcement in Alabama was put to the test to try to find him, to corral him. This current book is one of 3, Zeb. And the second one's due out any month now. It's being edited.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I was listening to you say the personality and the character, POC, and I don't think I've ever run into any author on my program that had a main character of a book that was a lover of Bulgarian opera, had one foot shorter than the other, and had a club foot. I mean, man, you really worked on this one.
He does stand out. It's a humorous, very black comedy novel. I would refer your listeners to a movie like Fargo, or Pulp Fiction, and perhaps TV like Dexter, a serial killer we all identified with.
Right.
I mean, Dexter killed people who had it coming, didn't he?
Yeah. You know, when you sit and write a book, now you're no amateur at this, you've done this quite a bit, but when you came up with this idea, and I should tell you right up front that I'm writing kind of an autobiography of my life right now with short stories, etc., and I get to the point, Jack, where all of a sudden I'm burned out. The candle, you can't light the wick, and I got to get up and get away from it for a while. What about you?
It has happened to me. Happened to me one day. I remember writing my memoirs. I just got stuck, couldn't think of which way to go. I recommend this to your readers, you or anyone else who's ready to start writing. Take it one day at a time. It's a forbidding task to sit down and say, you know what I'm going to do is write a book. Don't say that to yourself. Just do one page a day. Maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs, maybe more pages, but one page a day in a year, Zeb, you've got a book.
Absolutely. What's next on the horizon for Jack Owens and your writing career?
I'm going to finish the 3 Pac books. The second one is named Give Them Over to Death. Unlike the first book, which takes place in Birmingham and in the moors of England, the second book takes place in Tuscaloosa. I'm on familiar turf here. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama School of Law, which gave me the juice to be hired by J. Edgar Hoover. And I know Tuscaloosa, I know Birmingham, I know Alabama. And I think that, if I may say, the rest of the country likes to look at us down here in the Deep South with curiosity, shall we say. And we do have a history of good fiction, good writers.
You know, and I love the South. I had been in the rodeo business for years, 50 years, as a matter of fact, traveling all over the country. And when I'd go through your part of the country, I never found friendlier people anywhere, anytime. I thoroughly enjoyed it all through the South, whether it was Alabama, Georgia, you name it. I really enjoyed it. Where can they find your books? Because, man, after looking for a guy that loves Bulgarian opera with one leg shorter than the other and a club foot, they got to go read this.
Thank you. You can go to jackowensbooks.com. You can also go quickly right now to Amazon and buy it inexpensively. All 3 of my books are on Amazon, or you can order from any bookstore in America, and they'll get it to you quick.
Well, I tell you what, Jack, I'm going to have to get the books and read the books and have you back. You're a very enlightening and entertaining individual, and I wish you well. Jack Owens, thank you for being on my program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. It was my honor.
God bless you, sir. Thank you so much.
God bless.
I like him. He's a good guy. Former FBI agent for 30 years and now an author. And his latest book called Pac, and the one previous I can't wait to read. Don't shoot! We're Republicans! I love that. Hey, we got to get a weather forecast on here, and then we'll take some more of your calls. And the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website and check out all the delicious meats, scarrowsmeats.com. Smoked hams, marinated prime rib. Have you ever had that? It is fantabulous. All the breakfast sausages and the breakfast bacons and the bratwurst. Oh, my. It is good. Always is at Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's the weather.
We've got another beautiful day ahead of us here in the valley. Here's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch. Looking at mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 43, winds out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 20 miles an hour. For tonight, clouds will be making their way into the valley, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 26 tomorrow. Partly sunny skies with a high of 48. Looks like we do have a 20% chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast for Thursday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low near 33. Friday, 30% chance of rain showers, mostly in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high of 50. Then by Saturday, back to sunny skies and 45. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And again, brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew. I wish Don would just casually drop by sometime with some bratwurst and we cook them up and have a great day. I tell you what, I love that stuff. Great meats from Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Don't forget, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarrow's Meats. Okay, got time for a call or two. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I do not know what your feelings are about the White House press spokesman, Sarah Sanders, but I'm going to tell you that is one woman that I say, you go girl. I love Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's not going to take any guff from anybody in that press room. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you heard about this or not, but at a press conference, it was either yesterday or the day before, she got into a really good lighting up of Jim Acosta with CNN. And she let him know in no uncertain terms that he was going to pay attention to her rules and she was in total command. He started complaining. And he started chiding her during the press conference about not getting questions asked of him at the press conference on behalf of CNN. And there were two disabled, physically challenged soldiers that were at the podium that day because they were going to be speaking. And Sarah just interrupted him and said, "Courage isn't taking a question from CNN, Jim. Courage is combat veteran Sergeant Peck and Staff Sergeant Dwyer, the real heroes at the briefing today." And she put Jim Acosta in the place he deserved, the last row. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning. First off, I got to say, I like her tactics.
I do, too.
Second off, on a personal note, I wanted to let you and the other lunch bunchers know my mother is on her way to Boise today for open heart surgery, and I'd like everyone from the Lunch Bunch to keep her in their thoughts and prayers.
Well, Rodney, I'm so glad you called, and I'm taking notes on this right now, and I know Deanne is in the other room, and she's going to be in Boise for open heart surgery. And when's the surgery supposed to take place? Tomorrow. Well, I want you to know that our thoughts and prayers, and that's not just a trite statement, I mean it, our thoughts and prayers are going to be with your mother, and I urge all of our lunch bunchers and listeners to send a nice card to Mary Johnson, and she is a beloved member of our lunch bunch. And Rodney, I thank you so much for bringing that up to me.
Yes. Anyways, I'm praying hard for her.
Well, I know you are. And listen, I just tell you that I know the good hand of the Lord will be on your mom. Everything's going to be okay. And we're going to encourage everybody to send her a nice card of well wish. So, Rodney, thank you. God bless you and your family.
Yeah, and God bless you, Zeb. I hope to see you at the next lunch bunch, and I really hope to have her with me.
I understand, and believe me, man, she's in our prayers. Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. What a nice lady, and I did not know, nor was I aware that she was going in for surgery, but we absolutely want to wish her the best. Mary Johnson, going in for open heart surgery tomorrow. Don't forget, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they, of course, are having a great big spring tire sale. Oh, yeah, for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs. I mean, the great big spring tire sale, this is the time. This is the time to get in there to all 7 locations. They're going to help you with some great buys, like on the Eclipse tire for your car, all-season traction, advanced tread design, starting at just $61.97. Or listen to this one, the Backcountry all-terrain tire for your pickups and SUVs, just $169.99. Better check it out today at any of the 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, bar none. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I got a minute left. Good morning. You're on the air.
Okay, thank you. I'll make this really quick. I just listened to you and Jack Owens, that FBI agent that used to be ex, and he's awesome. Bring him back. He's wonderful. Oh, my gosh. He spoke such good enthusiasm and true to fact and life the way it is, and bring him back. Please, Zeb. He's awesome.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, and yes, he's going to go into my stable of will return calls, and I'm going to get him back on the air. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
You know, I hear this all the time about some of the guests we get, and I got to say this, it takes a lot of work and effort to get a lot of these people on the air. And we have to go through various liaisons. We have to go through various secretaries, various offices, and we ask who is best qualified to answer this and who can do that. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I think we're getting a really good, high-class personnel on our program. And we've had a lot of compliments, not only from people that live here, but all across the United States. And that means a lot to me. It gives us more of an attitude to keep on plugging away and finding these great people. Thank you very much for that very complimentary statement. I appreciate that. We're going to wrap it up for today, put it back in the box. I got a whole bunch of things to do outside, and we're going to be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06 with more Zeb at the Ranch. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.